Feeling motivated by a springtime thaw, dry days, and a warm breeze, it was time to take the sim rig work outside, where Stupati could utilize the increased space and gain some much-needed exposure to the sun, while he finished the last little bit of sanding, clamping, and painting. Squeeze that thing together. Anxious to try out his new airbrush, the same airbrush he's now left uncleaned and forgotten under the next winter's blanket of snow. Stupati races forward, finishing up with a touch of glue before he starts, and then straight into laying down his first color, a dark gray paint for the bulk of the rig. But of course, because he'd mismeasured from the start, the damn thing was way too tightly assembled to be able to take it apart for paint. So he had to lower his expectations on the detail he thought he might chase and go with something much simpler. Though to be honest, a guy like Stupati should have made it simple from the start. Regardless, with the second color done, a sporty green with some raw pieces left for flavor and ease, it was time to move on to adding some carpet to the seat tray module, because he thought it might look cool. Unfortunately, the work to add carpet was not clean and not fast, likely stemming from choosing the wrong materials and glue. Once the carpet had been installed, he'd need to spend a couple of hours wiping down all the excess glue that had squeezed out. Adding replaceable seat rail mounting blocks to avoid damaging the main structure was a smart move. And finally, some green appearance boards where he once intended to install working brake lights. He didn't, but he had planned to. And so, with the seat section predominantly finished, it's onto the main rig structure next, where the green and front cross brace is installed, a linchpin in keeping the whole thing as rigid as possible. Some more appearance boards to finalize the build, like side splitters and rocker panels to give it that auto aesthetic, help it match with the front splitters to make it look the part. Stupati has only a few more corners to round before he nabs the win. Then, onto retrofitting some LED strips for a little more appeal at first glance. It became obvious here that there should have been a prior pathway and plan for the lighting, so it was a small struggle, and not what had been imagined, but he's flooring it and hoping to finish quickly at this stage. Once the wheelbase had been installed, it became evident that some angle iron would need to be added to mitigate flex. Though it hadn't been planned, it ended up fitting perfectly, looking kind of cool and fixing the issue. It was the flex in the wheelbase module that led him to change his mind on the pedal tray design, simply because there would have been far too much pressure while braking to make the current plan work. A non-adjustable tray was made instead, which works just fine. Another feature beneath the wheelbase was an adjustable keyboard tray. Ah, fuck it. Let's get past this narrative and have us a little drool on this masterpiece. This was never going to be very informative anyways,